Yo, what is up, my sussy bakas? Today's video is featured on our favorite sussy game, but also not at the same time. Imposter Alternated Demo 2. This mod only came out a few weeks ago, and yet it's already pulled itself up to my top 5 FNF mods, even though it's a pretty short mod. Yet, it passed Gorefield on one listen. Seriously, I love everything about this mod. Not a single song is bad, and I just love it to pieces. This mod is very similar to Imposter, however, so be warned, there will be a couple comparisons to the V4 songs. So be prepared for that. Now, there are a couple rules for this one. First off, I'm not doing the horse songs. They weren't in the new update, and I don't even like them in the first place, so they would spoil the ranking. I'm also not ranking anything old because, well, you know, that would be wrong. But other than that, all 13 songs are good to go, and first up is quite the shocking one for me.
No, you're not my papa. Oh yeah, I'm your papa. No, you're not my papa. Yes, I'm your papa. No, you're not my papa. Stop saying I'm not your papa, you little brat.
Okay, before everybody is like, oh, the joke song's last place, classic ranker, just hear me out. The Simulate is a really good song, and I mean a really good song. There's quite a bit I like in this song, starting off with Baby Gray's chromatic. It's really good and better than Gray's base default chromatic for his V4 songs, and while the old one had a better song in Delusion, this one just handled better. The same can also be said with Black's new chromatic, being really good. It kind of reminds me of an Updog chromatic, but a lot better. The melodies are super catchy as well, not a single one is bad, and I do really like the instrumental, however repetitive it can be. Plus, all the memes they throw in are just really funny. I don't think I've laughed this hard at a joke song since ERB and DDOT, and I gotta say, the ending with Baby Black is just funny. However, it's kind of short, and I wish it was a bit longer. Plus, the kind of repetitive instrumental is a little annoying, but still, a funny song nonetheless.
I mean, you're pregnant and I'm the baby.
Rematch is a song that hasn't grown on me a ton in how it's placed. It's still a pretty good song all around, and it has a lot of good things going for it. Let's discuss the best part of the song first, the instrumental. It reminds me quite a bit of Identity Crisis and Jean Reno from Weekly, so props to that. And I do like Monotone's chromatic quite a bit. While kinda similar to Red's chromatic, I can let that slide since it's not the exact same thing, and it's used well enough. The melodies are all pretty nice too, especially when Monotone does the shapeshift into blue, which is, in my eyes, the weakest part of the song. The instrumental still slaps, and there's a nice Identity Crisis reference, but Blue's chromatic is the old one, I think, which really held the old Sus Bluegas back. And there is something else I need to address. This song is way too long, with it at almost 4 minutes, which isn't a huge issue, but it makes some parts feel dragged on, which lowers it down a bit. But still, a good representation of Monotone, and in my eyes, a better Identity Crisis.
I don't want to be a winner! I'd rather be a disappointment to you than live like this.
I know someone's gonna kill me for this, but Wit Game is, in my eyes, not the greatest thing this mod has yet to eject. It's still a really good song, don't get me wrong, but there are two negatives I feel like I just need to address right off the bat. The first being Red Mungus. I'll be honest, he was my least favorite chromatic from this mod, and while it's somewhat good, it's dragged down by my other issue. Unlike Victory, this song is 5 minutes long, which is really pushing it since it's the longest song in the mod. Seriously, if it was shorter, it could be an S tier track. And you know what bugs me? This one switches from S to A and vice versa all the time, just due to those 2 issues. Everything else is amazing though, I'll just say that way. The instrumental is one of the best from the mod, and I do like War Chief and Gel Curse chromatics. I prefer War Chief's by a great deal, but both are still amazing. And a lot of the melodies are just amazing all the way around, with barely any I think are bad, except for a couple mid ones in the beginning and like 1 or 2 near the middle. And I really like the ending. I think it's handled very well with how it's shifting from victory to defeat. And while this one could be an S again, which may take some time, I don't think it's ever gonna leave the bottom 3. Milky Way is quite the unique song from this mod. Look, it captures this energy, this happy, bouncy energy that you wouldn't expect from any of the imposters out there, besides maybe Pink. And you know what? I know the reason. It's Connie. Her chromatic is just so bouncy and happy. You feel like they combined Sayori and Pink's chromatics, and they just add a teeny bit of charm to them, and it's just so freaking good. BF also sounds pretty good too. They aren't using his default chromatic, but one of his custom ones from past mods, which works really well here since I do like that chromatic quite a bit. The melodies, well, the weakest part, are all great too, as well as the instrumental, which just makes me dance a bit. However, the melodies do get kind of repetitive after a while, and while it's not a massive issue, it's what keeps it where it's at. Like seriously, Milky Way is a banger song, I just wouldn't call it any higher than what it is. Apprehensive is quite the song. I'll be honest, I don't really have all that much to say on the song, so I'm gonna run through this one kinda fast. To begin, Blue's chromatic is handled quite well here. His new one sounds very nice, and I like how it's used in the song, even though it was better in Sussus Flucus. The instrumental is also quite nice, even though it's the weakest part of the song besides my one issue, but we'll get into that later. The melodies are pretty amazing the entire way through, with not a single one being less than amazing, especially around the second half of the song. Those melodies are just amazing, and they're so incredible. I also think there's a finale reference here, but I could be mistaken on that one. Come to think of it, the melodies are probably made this song so high in the first place. However, it does have a small issue, that being Black's chromatic. The way through is high-pitched and sounds kinda muffled at parts, which really clashes with Blue at some parts, and I kind of understand the dude just had his eyes shot out, but his mouth isn't on where his eyes are, unless they are, which would be weird. Anyway, he still sounds good, but I wish it was pitched down a bit, which is kind of the reason this one is an S+, and just an S tier. Still, an upgrade over its V1, and I think it's amazing as it is, just not perfect.
Look at this dude. Wait till you see the. No, 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 no.
Observed is interesting, to say the least. Well, in my eyes, it doesn't fit Red the best. Fitting and sounding well are two different things, and in my eyes, this song very much does the latter. Red's chromatic, well, again, strange for this kind of song, is still used very well. While I don't love his chromatic a ton, thanks Sussus Tugus, it's used very well here. Probably the second best uses in his week, and BF sounds quite nice as well with a slight echo in his voice. You know, it kinda sounds like a reverb at parts, which I do like. All the melodies are pretty catchy, not a single one I dislike, and the Sabotage reference is very good. My only issue is it's kinda short, which is weird. All Red songs are usually over 2.5 minutes, and this one doesn't even go over 2 minutes. But it uses the small time that it has to the best, and I do like it quite a bit. I'm just gonna say this right now, Defeat Hymn Mix is so much better than the OG Defeat. However, the wiki wouldn't really tell me the names, and with no photos, I'm just gonna call the characters Black and Boyfriend. I'm gonna go and get the negative part out of the way right here so we can talk positive afterwards. I don't like the flashback part much at all. In fact, that right there is what's keeping this song this low. I hate how Black sounds there. It's so annoying. It doesn't even sound like him or an imposter or crewmate anymore. Okay, one negative aside, I love everything else about this song. The beginning still sounds great, even though it's better than the OG, I do still like it. Then there's the spam. Unlike the OG, work it annoying fast. It never does here, and that pairs well with Black's chromatic. I really like how it sounds in this song. It sounds like him, but also not at the same time, if that makes sense. I just love how it sounds. The instrumental is also super rock, so right up my alley, as demonstrated by Rage Party and Starman Slaughter on their instrumentals. Seriously, if the flashback part was cut or fixed, easy top 3 for the mod, but alas, it's not, and we're left with what we got. Still, a banger song I love, it's just not flawless, and the flashback part holds it back too much.
Okay, time to get serious.
Oh boy, Teratoma is quite the unique song for this mod, and any Imposter mod actually. So this one features around the Imposter, as I believe he's called. That's gonna get annoying real fast. I'm just gonna call him Yellow. So Yellow's chromatic is different from all the other Imposter chromatics, which are, in my eyes, mostly all the same, but with something slightly different on each one, or just an instrument like the chef. Yellow doesn't take that path, however, and adapts a unique chromatic, which is, in my eyes, the best of the mod. I like how it's used, being quicker and more erratic, which pairs really well with BF. I love it when these two do their duets. Even though it's two different melodies, they eventually switch to the others to make it sound better. The middle is also really nice. I love how the background switches up and the song keeps growing with intensity, which pairs really well with the instrumental. Now, if I were to make any nitpicks, I'd say I don't love the instrumental all the way through. I know I said it pairs well with the melodies. I do. However, it never seemed to take a breather even in the middle, which is the calmest part where Yellow reveals himself. I think if it was calmer there, the song could be an SS, but it sadly isn't, and that hurts me. Still, a song that has grown on me, and one I've grown to love, especially since I didn't care for the older version much at all, to be honest.
I know what this looks like. I know what this looks like. I know what it looks like.
Investigated is everything I wish Voting Time was in Imposter V4. It captures this feeling of what happens when a crewmate is found dead in Among Us quite well, and, well, everything to be honest. To begin, Maroon's the more serious one in this debate. His chromatic, while it was stronger in Double Down, is still really good here. Unfortunately, I can't say the same for Red. His chromatic sounds kinda like it did in Meltdown, which was really the killing point for that song. It sounds a bit too clicky here, which isn't an awful thing, and it functionally works, just not the greatest chromatic for this mod. I much prefer it sounded in Double Drown, although I guess it kinda fits, so I'll give it a slight pass. And then we have Black's chromatic. Also, this is an Imposter Black, it's crewmate Black, in case anybody didn't know. So, his chromatic is really nice, and it kinda reminds me of the Imposter chromatic, Black's chromatic, but with a lot less malice. The instrumental also kinda gives me a jazz vibe, which I think works here, even though it's a little strange in this kind of circumstance. Then there is the courtroom battle section. I'll be honest, this part is just so incredible and pops off all the way until the ending. It's what really rose this one above Teratoma, but not by much. So yeah, while this one could use a fix in Red's chromatic, it's still an amazing song that is so close to incredible, but one I bet no one was expecting to be this low.
About low-budget flights, no food or movies.
Hi there. I'm Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yep, Catastrophe's ranking this high on my list. I really like Catastrophe. Like, an absurd amount. We're in SS category now, which is just really funny because the original Catastrophe was like a B-tier track. I had like barely any love for it, but this version is just so much better. First of all, it's the proper length you expect of Final Battle, and not just 2 minutes like the original was, which I hate how short the original was. White and Black both sound very good, with White actually being the star player here. He doesn't overshadow Black, and Black doesn't overshadow White, which is nice. The flashback section is just beautiful. Both actually sound just so smooth to listen to. The first one's easier the better than two, but I like the second one just as much. However, if I was to give any nitpicks of this song, I would say, how I said, this one's too long. I know I said 2 minutes was too short for the last one, but 6 minutes is pushing it a little bit. If it was like 5, it would probably be in the top 3, but it's just a little bit too long, which is unfortunately why I'm ranking this one as low as I am. That, I guess, it gets a wee bit repetitive, but not
by enough to call this one like an S+. No, it's still an easy SS. Like, I can't really say that much. The song is just really, really incredible, but just isn't beating anything else out from this mod.
Pibby, I'm scared. Don't worry, Bun Bun. I'll always keep you safe.
If you all thought Catastrophe got a massive upgrade, then you'd be surprised how much Fear has risen up for me. Fear V1 was the worst song in V1, not including the horse songs, and now it's in the top 3. And you know why? They completely fixed it. To start off, White is very smooth with his vocals. It's not quiet anymore, so that's an upgrade right off the bat. They pair super well with BFs at a lot of moments, and not a single one of his melodies are anything less than incredible. The instrumental also pops up so freaking much. I love it. And you know something else about the song? It's not even trying to be scary, because White's section is the calm before the storm part. Because once Black enters, he just makes the song even better, and really gives you that feeling of fear. His chromatic is at the best of the mod here, and it works so well when he and BF do it, especially with the more hype instrumental. However, the thing that kinda stopped this one from ranking any higher was the fact that I don't love how long the ending instrumental is. It's still a banger, but it's a bit too long for the ending being over 20 seconds. However, it's not really bad per se, but it just keeps it below the top 2. That and the top 2 were just so much better.
I can't trust anyone anymore.
Sus Bluegus, the first song of this mod, and it's ranking this high. Yeah, I love Sus Bluegus so much. It's not much of an upgrade over its V1, but it's enough to raise to SS. Let's start with the best part. Blue's new chromatic is absolutely fire in the song. It just sounds so freaking darn good the entire way through. You know what? Blue's old chromatic really kept the old Sus Bluegus down as low as it was. And even then, I still really like that one. The melodies also, they just pop off. They're just so addicting to listen to. And the instrumental is just as good. I love the instrumental. So you're probably thinking, well, why is it number 1? For the longest time, actually, Sus Bluegus was number 1. However, if I was to make a nitpick, the song's a little bit too short. Similar to Observed, I think 2 minutes is a little too short. Like, if it was like an extra 30 second, easy king of the mod, but it sadly isn't, and it is what made me rank this one at number 2, and unfortunately, not number 1. Still, a banger song that I love and will never stop loving. It is just that darn good. All I'll say is this, Sussus Bluegus and Double Drown were neck and neck for number 1. I did end up eventually selecting the latter because, well, I've got a couple reasons actually. First off, the swing in this instrumental hits harder than any other swing FNF song I know, including Knockout. And you all know how much I love Knockout, with it being the king of indie cross. Seriously, no other instrumental swings like this one. The melodies are all super incredible. They pair with all 3 chromatics. Red and Maroon sound best at their best, with Maroon taking the crown for the best performance in the song. However, there is this slower part in the middle, which, while I like, was the bending point between this one and Sussus Bluegus. I like the part, but I don't love how it ditched the swing. However, it's not super long, and I can work around because everything else after it just slaps, like, so freaking hard. Every melody in the song is just so much better than Sussus Bluegus, and you all know how much I love those ones. And then there is the last 20 to 30 seconds. The scared tone you can make out in Red's voice is really good, and it captures this feeling that it's all gonna go wrong for these two. So yeah, while it was a bit tricky, Double Drown did eventually win out as the best song in this mod. Well, with the final entry of this mod, I can confidently say that the ranking is over. I'll be honest, this mod has probably gotten one of the best globs for a demo, and I can't wait to see what its V1 is going to pull out of its hat. Or, in this case, gun. Bad joke aside, she does my tier list. Yeah, really positive and easy pick for a top 5 mod in FNF. Now, with this mod done, I'm going to move on to hit single. I better hurry up on that one though. Axo Neo and Kelpart already beat me to the punch, so I'd better make sure I can hold up to them. But until next time, mi amigos,